Do you want to start art journaling but you don't have very much money or maybe just very few supplies? Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, it's Penny. Today I'm going to do just a very basic art journal page. So whether you're new to art journaling and you have very limited supplies or none at all, or you've been doing it a while, today I'm going to do a page using just our primary colors, blue, red, and yellow. And I'm going to use a little white and black, either gesso or paint, to go with it. You can make a lot of colors and do a lot of things with your journal page with just a few paint supplies. So come and join me, won't you?
So the paint I'm using is Jane Davenport's acrylic paint in yellow, blue, and red, our primary colors. I'll use Liquitex white gesso and Liquitex black gesso. Now I have Golden's black gesso, but it is a little bit thicker, as I'll show you, so I decide not to use it for this application, but it's wonderful for being able to cover over something and create a base, a darker base, but I'm going to put that aside and stay with the Liquitex today. It's a little more fluid. So I'm going to line these up on my tray, almost in like a color wheel fashion. So I'm laying them out in a way that I can use from either end of the stripe of color I've laid out on my tray. I will add my white and my black around this a little bit, and you'll see why in just a minute. I start off first with the red, mixing it with white to make a little more pink. Different amounts of white, make it lighter or darker. Then I clean my brush before I do the yellow. And I find I need to clean my brush and then dry my page a little bit in between some of this so it doesn't get muddy, because when you put all these three colors together, you're going to get a real kind of ugly brown. So I don't want that in my page. I want bright, pretty, clear colors. So, of course, blue and red make purple. Blue and yellow make green. If you put a little bit more blue than the yellow, you're going to get more of a teal. Just play with it and you'll find so many more colors. And then you can add white to it to lighten the color, to get more into your pastels. So I am just playing at this point. I'm putting color all over the page. I want kind of a, if you're old enough to remember this term, psychedelic background. And I keep going over it even when I've got the page covered, because I realize I've got larger sections of color and I want smaller, little small sections of color all over. So I water down white gesso and brush it onto my page and then take off some of it with a wet wipe. Now this is a book I think you might want to invest in. This is Jane Davenport's Fabulous Figures. And it has wonderful ideas for doing different figures. She has a really wonderful method for getting the proportions correct on them. So I highly recommend that book, and I'm going to include a link down below where you can order it from her site on Amazon. It's worth your money. So I have already drawn in my figure, and I will start painting in. It's a figure sitting on a swing, so now I'm just doing the swing and the rope. I like a nice flowy hair, lots of different colors. And if you've been around me long, you know they don't have to be traditional hair colors either. But Jane Davenport's book, one of the reasons that I highly recommend it is because it goes into so much more depth than just how to draw a figure or how to get the proportions correct. She has so many different ways that you face a figure. You can use collage. It is just one of the most all-inclusive and creative books I've seen. And she even has some little aids for helping you get started drawing your figures, as you'll see when you purchase the book. It is just really wonderful. So I highly recommend it. I'm going in now with just the face, and the skin tones I've done with just using the red, the yellow, and a little white. And depending how much yellow you want in the skin, and how light the skin is, how much white you put in there determines that. So you just play around, because I went over this several times. I would get one shade and I decided I wanted it a little darker or a little lighter. And that's the beauty of art journaling and acrylic paint. You can just keep going over it. And mistakes are pretty easy to fix too, and I had to do that on the face outlining. So I go in and put in just a little detail around the face. I like this face. This is a illustration from her book that I drew my figure from. After I add some highlights to her hair with the white mixed with a little red, very little red, I go in and add some highlights and different shading on her dress. Doing a little bit more detail work with her. Then I use a lid to make a big circle, and I want to push back some of that color. So I create a very dark purple with the red, the blue, and a little black, but I water it way down. And when I brush it onto the page, I use my wipe right behind it because I want to see some of that color and texture showing through, but I want to have that bigger moon concentrated in the circle behind the figure. So now I'm doing just a little outlining of it with my thin brush. So for the moon, I take my white gesso and add just a little bit of yellow to it and water it down. And I paint that on, and then I take my wet wipe and rub a lot of it off. I just want to soften those bright colors in the moon. And at first I take some words from a magazine cutout, but I decide I don't like them. So I pull out my alphabet stamps. I just want to create a one word for this page to call it soar. So I do that with white ink. So I decide to go over my stamped letters with my white Sharpie marker just to make them pop more. And then I do a little shadowing technique around the letters with a black Galaxy permanent marker. And then some stars in the sky. So if you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And you might want to subscribe so you can get future videos. And if you hit that bell button, it'll notify you when I put a new one up. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.
So come and join me, won't you? Or we could never cut off, and you can just watch me click this little button all day that obviously the battery's going dead on.